everyone, Daniel Kerr here. Today I want to talk about easily one of the most frustrating but also one of the most capable Groovebox units of all time, the Roland Mc-808. Okay, and whoever designed this thing, it was kind of early on in the Groovebox. It wasn't actually one of the first generations of Grooveboxes, but it was a first generation of Grooveboxes where they really wanted to cram as many features as they could into a Groovebox. And this one came out right after the MC909, maybe a year later or something, and the MC909 is way more capable than the MC808. However, they wanted to kind of, they doubled the polyphony to 128, right, which is really nice. They wanted to pack everything from the 909 into a smaller package, and they did a decent job, but there's just certain things, right? Here's my main complaints. Number one is that if you want to use the editor in Windows 10, you can install the editor, but you can't find USB MIDI drivers for this unit that work in Windows 10. Now, I have found a workaround, and I'm going to start with that. I'll show you that in a few minutes. One thing is chopping samples. You can chop samples up to 32 slices, but if your sample is too long, right, it can be perfectly trimmed. It won't chop it into 32 even slices if the sample's too long. It will chop it into what it thinks are 31 slices, and then the 32nd slice will be the rest of the sample, right, which is really ridiculous. And sometimes it's arbitrary what the machine decides to do. It'll give you like a few single hits, and then like the fourth or fifth pad will be like 5 or 6 hits at once, and then it'll be single hits again until like the last 3 pads. It's really strange. So chopping samples, you can do that with the editor a lot easier than you can using the unit, kind of. That's another issue that I have, is in the editor, if you chop up a sample, I don't know how to save it in its chopped state. You have to go back to the box itself, and you have to save it, but you end up having to re-chop it. It's an interesting thing. Another thing is saving patterns. If you save patterns and you edit a bunch of voices in this pattern, right, those voices, once you reload the saved pattern, will go back to their original state. The patches in synth sounds or whatever, they don't save with the pattern like any edits to envelopes and things or filter settings. You have to actually put those in as a motion sequence, right, which kind of handicaps your ability to use them live or to manipulate them live. Or you have to save the patch in a different location or in its current location, right? And then save the pattern, right? So that's kind of weird. Another thing is when you're sampling, okay? If you're in the pattern mode and you sample, it will allow you to sample. It will allow you to save that sample as a patch in the currently selected track on the MC808, but it will not allow you to truncate or edit start or end points or chop. It will call it, when you try to do anything, including delete the sample, it will give you an error that says, not a sample patch, right? And even in the written manual, which I have a paper manual, in the list of errors, that error doesn't show up. So it took me a long time to figure out that if I sampled while conventional sample or imported a sample from a card, right, in pattern mode, that I wouldn't be able to mess with the sample. And the only way to delete it is to write over it with a new sample, right? Very weird, kind of dumb. But if you're in the patch and sample mode, then you can hit shift and write, and it will write it as a sample patch, and then all of your editing features are available, okay? Importing samples is a pain, okay? There's no way around it. It's very weird to even get the unit to be recognized by my archaic laptop, right? Maybe a newer laptop would recognize it a lot easier or something, but I doubt it, okay? The issue is that sometimes I have to restart the MC808, and then it'll be recognized in storage mode as a USB storage device. Or sometimes I have to restart my computer, and then it will be recognized. But if it's recognized once and I unplug it and then I plug it back in, it's never recognized again until I power down units and restart, okay? One or both, computer and MC808, very, very weird, okay? Then you drag your samples into the temporary folder. It'll tell you audio files or audio samples or something. And then you have to load them into the Groovebox, right? Via the CF card. You have to load them from the card after you've dragged them from the computer, and then you have to save them as sample patches, and then you can edit them sometimes. Okay, it's really weird. I'm going to show you some ways that I've found to make it work consistently, but it's stupid. You have to go from one pattern to another and back to the original pattern. It's so dumb, all right? You cannot use a slice of a chopped sample as a patch in itself, like a synth, right? So what I do with the ESX and other things where I take a long collection of synth waves and I chop them into slices and then I use those as synths, that's impossible to use here, okay? There is no modulation of the sample start position, right? Yeah, there's just a few problems. A few of the problems that I have addressed and more can be alleviated by using the editor. Not only that, but the editor gives you lots and lots of deep editing options. So you can use FM, you can layer 4 synth patches, you can set filter, LFOs, these things. You can make, you can even layer synths with samples, and you can do all kinds of things with the editor that you cannot do from the front panel of the MC808. Okay, so getting the editor to work in Windows 10 is absolutely crucial. Okay, OS X, I don't know, but I do know that the old Roland UM1, which is a plug-and-play USB to MIDI device, right? Their drivers for the Mark I unit can be used in the MC808, but it takes a little bit of finagling, okay? I don't know where you can readily find the Mark I USB driver for the UM1 online, except for I'm going to host it for you. I was able to get it from someone, and I'll host it for you at ghostwrittenclips.com. I'll leave a link in the description. You can go there and just grab it up. Now, it takes a little bit of finagling. This video that we're about to watch is poorly lit. It is not recorded very well, but it is clear. It is easy to understand. I hope I don't ramble too much like I usually do, but this is some really good information. I'm going to show you how to install this thing from scratch on Windows 10 and how to set it up. Okay, before we go onto the laptop and we figure some things out, there's some settings that you need on here, okay? One thing I should tell you is that the flying faders, the motorized faders, I have completely dismantled that. I've disabled that because moving parts, I don't need that. I don't need to be flashy, you know, on stage or whatever the reason people have that. It doesn't help me at all, and it just looks like it might be moving parts that would fall apart sometimes. So if you go into System, first thing you want to do is you want to hold Shift and go to Pad 8, and hopefully you can see this. I don't know if you can, but it says System USB mode MIDI, okay? You can go to Storage, which will basically allow you to use the unit as storage to import samples, which, as I already told you, doesn't really work. So I leave it on MIDI, and you want to write, okay, when that's done. You also want to go forward. You want to make sure that MIDI, USB MIDI through is off. I don't know why that's important, but I found it to be important. Another thing is if you hold down Shift and go to 4, it'll take you to System RX MIDI, okay? And what that means is it's the MIDI signals that the MC808 is going to receive. Now, oh, sirens, hold on. Okay, when I first got this unit, I went in here and I disabled all the receiving messages except for clock, okay? Now you can scroll through here, you can see you got, it's kind of ridiculous because I kind of Turned everything off. I don't like using program changes. I don't want to receive editing CC from another unit, at least unless I want to. Then I turn it back on. So I turned everything off. Well, obviously the editor software is not going to work if it's not receiving any signals. So basically go through and turn everything on. One other thing you should do to get the editor to work is go to Shift and go to System, and then go to it says Device ID. I'm holding this with one hand because I forgot about this. So it's and it says Device ID. It's set by default to 17. You want to set it to 32. Okay, here we are. And as you can see on my very cluttered desktop, this is where I have my driver for the UM1. Open that up. Notice that it is the X64 driver. Okay, and if I open up this file here, you'll see this is what I want to use. That's my driver. Okay, and I open up the device manager. So you can see MC808 in the device manager. Right click and update driver. And you want to go to browse my computer for drivers. And you want to not do this up here. You want to look down here. Let me pick a list of available drivers on my computer. Choose that. Don't select anything. Hit next. And then click have disk. And that opens up the A browser. And you want to search for the browser. I already showed you where it was at, right? And you want to select the sucker here and open it. And then you want to hit OK. And now you want to hit next. And it's going to recommend against it. It's going to say, don't do it. Do you want to install this driver? Yes, of course you do. It is installed. Close this window. And here we are in the MC808 editor. You want to go to Setup, and you want to go to Setup MIDI Devices. You want to change to the UM1. Change device ID to 32, because that's the UM1 device. Okay. And then you want to hit this read button here to get all the data from the unit. Boom. All the levels, all of the sounds. And if I hit play, you won't be able to hear this, but if I hit play over here. Oh, hold on. You can see the tracks that are lighting up at the top here. Okay, now that we have the editor software on Windows 10, let's see what it can do. Let's do a few things. Right now I have this pattern pulled up. Now, there's nothing here. And the reason why is because one time when I was dealing with samples recently, down here you'll see that Shift and Pad 10 in the patch sample menu is delete, and I was trying to delete one sample and I hit Shift and Pad 11 and I deleted all. So it's kind of terrible, but nonetheless all the voices are here. In fact, let's get some drums first, okay? This is how this unit works, by the way. If I go to record, I'm in pattern mode here. Record, we'll put it into real-time recording mode. Okay, you have multiple recording modes and you can use the cursor. You have to scroll through them. You have real-time recording mode, you have TR recording mode, which is like XOX style. You have step recording mode, and then you have tempo and mute recording mode, which usually that is reserved for song mode, I think, to record tempo changes and mute and unmute in a pattern is unusual. Nonetheless, that's how it is, I think. I haven't used that. I probably will never use it. I definitely will never use it. Step record, you know, it's interesting. If I put steps in, I can see the steps. If I put in TR notes, like TR XOX style notes, I can see the notes, right? If I record in real time, I can't switch to TR recording and see the notes and edit them that way. I have to use this little tiny screen to edit. I don't know, maybe there's another way, but you know, this manual is like, I don't even know. It's like trying to decipher a manual in another language that was sent through Google Translate. It's just ridiculous. So if anybody knows a way, let me know. Right now I'm going to enter real-time recording mode with enter. Gives me a little clock, a little count in. You can hear it. I'm in 4/4. Yeah, that's fine. 16ths. 16 notes. That's a huge. 16 bars rather. That's a large pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize this sucker by holding Shift and pad 16. You can't see that. It says initialize. Yes. Let's initialize it. Okay. Now it's going to go to a default length of 4 bars, I think. Nonetheless, we're in track number 11. If we go to patch sample, we'll see that we are in, it looks like user A40, new tech house. Yep, new tech house is the name of the rhythm patch, the drum kit. Go back to pattern, go back into real-time recording. 4 measures, 4 bars, yes. Record mode mix, that means I'm not replacing what I record, it's overdubbing. 2 measure count in, I'm going to go to 1 measure. And quantize resolution, I'm going to change that to 16ths, okay? 1. Listening back. Okay, let's go to channel 1. Let's see. Let's go down a couple octaves. Okay. That's very simple. It doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't have to be amazing. What I want to do is I want to go to the editor right now, and I want to mess with that first track there, the bass line. So let's do that. Let me mute these drums for a moment. Okay. Let's go over to the editor. Now in the editor, you can see the notes are right here. Okay, in order to, let me stop the sequencer, that way I can just fire it off by hand. Here you have the part, I can change the voice, right, with this little menu here. Let's try a few of these. That's actually super thick, what luck. Okay, let's go to the parameters, and it'll pull up excuse me, that's just the parameter of the EQ and the compressor. So you can go in here and you can change the style and settings on the EQ. You can change the Master Effects 1, right? Same way, you can choose effects. You know, let's it's in chorus filter right now. Let's change it to some delay. Let's put a quadruple tap delay in there. You can change the time. You can do these different things, right? And you have the same thing with MFX2, okay? And in 3, you have the reverb. You can set the time of the reverb, the feedback levels, the level of the reverb itself, and the style. You got halls and plates and rooms. Not super extensive. And in mastering, you have basically a multi-band compressor, and you can set these how you want. You only have 3 bands, but you have limited amount of split and frequency. The frequency split, where the bands are split. For instance, I would like to go down past 200 hertz to just get the subs. I'd like to get 100 hertz there, but I can't. In the highs, I can get down to 2000 hertz, 2 kilohertz, or up to 8 kilohertz, and that's pretty good. Anyway, I'd like to have more control over these, but I don't have that control. So that's what it is. Now, in the synth here, right, we have the auto sync, okay? That's mostly for sampling. If I put that on, that means that the sample will always sync to the tempo. It's like a rudimentary time stretching. We have the routing. You can go, you can decide how each part is routed to the effects and the amplifier. That's really nice. Okay, something you cannot do with the unit itself. And now the synth engine. Okay, I have this patch edit. So I have the general settings here, and it gives me the synth name. I can probably change the name there if I want, etc. I have whether it's going to be poly or mono. I have priority for notes in case I run into the polyphony issues after 128 notes. I have the amount of pitch bend. All right. It looks like I can change the pitch bend values up versus down, which is kind of interesting. They don't have to be the same value. That's kind of cool. I've got tuning here. Over here we got portamento. I got legato settings and unison settings. Let's listen to some unison. Let's go up a couple octaves. Okay. That's going to be good for some Reese's. Listen. Dang, that's actually sick. I think I'll leave that on there. Okay? So let's listen. Yep, that sounds great. Okay, and outside of here we have the wave and the pitch. And in here we can choose different waves and layer these things, add 3 or 4 different waves together, even samples together. You can add FM. Listen. Let's do this. Try FM with multiple layers. And that's kind of cool. It's more striking on some voices than others. You have gain. You have your mixer for the for each one of these layers, right? Over here you have all kinds of envelopes. I'm not exactly sure what all these envelopes are controlling. You would think it's the amp envelope, but it's not, because there's actually a separate amp envelope menu here. In fact, I can give it some release. Listen. Okay, and actually if I go back to general, I can change this to poly, or from poly to mono, and that allows me to give it some release without interfering. Listen. So you're not hearing more than one note at once, which is great. Okay, and then back in the amplifier here, we have your velocity curves. You have all kinds of things you can do in here. Okay, and actually, you know what? It looks like first 2 waves are kind of playing second fiddle to the third. So the second one, it's a little bit of sub. Let's give this some gain by going to wave and pitch. Let's bring this one down just a tad. And let's bring this one in slowly. Let's bring the envelope in. So I hold it down. And it fades in. Okay? Just to show you what we can do. Now over here we have filters. Okay? You have a separate filter envelope. And this is in a high pass filter here. We have different filter models. High pass filter here. Let's make it low pass filter here. Give it some resonance. Okay, that shows you what this can do. You have all kinds of filter envelopes. You have velocity curves. You have sensitivity, velocity sensitivity, filter models. You have all these things that you can do here. Okay, let's go to LFO. And here you choose the tones here. These are the different layers. And right now we're in tone 1. Let's give some filter. And give it some depth. That's the depth. Let's see. Okay, I can hear that. Let's go to the second tone, also to the filter. Let's bring the rate down. Third. You know what? I wonder if I can do the rate of this, of the second LFO, if I could modulate the rate of the first LFO with the second LFO. Yeah, there might be a way. I'm not sure. We have key sync. Okay, so you can hear a lot of things going on here, right? Let's send this sucker to the let's send it to the compressor. If I can't do it here, I wonder what these do. Looks like you have different routing algorithms, patch structure. I'm not even sure what this does. Velocity range, matrix control. Looks like these are maybe further modulation options. Anyway, there's a lot you can get into in here, okay? Next thing I want to do is I'm going to show you guys how to import samples using the card and how to do sampling, okay? Both of those are ridiculous, okay? If we go back to here, I'll turn these drums back on. This is our new voice, right? If you see here, if we go to patch sample, you'll see that that voice has not been saved. So what we need to do is stop the sequencer. You can't do this with the sequencer running, which is another issue, I think, right? It would be great if you could. But go to patch sample. You want to write this patch, and we're going to basically write over what we did. No, I don't think so. I'm going to go to the card, and I'm going to write over something that is empty, because that original one was beautiful, right? So now that's saved. Also, if we go to pattern, we can save our pattern. I'm not going to save this pattern because, well, actually, I already ascertained that pattern had been ruined. So we'll just save this pattern as well. Pattern write completed. Okay, let's go to the second thing and add a bit of top end. Let's go to track 3. Let's go find a different patch. Give it using these the matrix here. We can go to synthesizer 2 and give it some release. Okay. Mix, yes. One measure, yes. Quantize 16ths. Let's undo that and do it again. Let's find a different voice. Give it some release. Now remember, once we've given it some release, we have to write the patch. Okay. Let's go to synthesizer 1 over here and let's mess with the cutoff and frequency. I see. Oops. Undo. Okay, well, here now's a good time to show you how these things work. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to erase what I just did on number 3. Now, if you notice, all these are lit up, so it'll erase all of them. That's another problem if you don't know what's going on. So you want to mute everything except for number 3. Okay. Now, if you didn't want to do that, you can just hit Shift, Tempo, Mute, Control, and choose a channel, right? Exit or Enter. Save that patch. save that pattern. Okay, let's get into some sampling. Okay, so now I guess we're going to try and use the USB connection. We're going to turn the MC808 into a storage device. And we're going to try to drag some samples over. Okay, this may or may not work the first time. I might have to restart everything, whatever. Go to System, and right now, actually, if you go to Shift and Pad 8, we're already in this the menu, but Shift and Pad 8 takes you there. And USB mode, it says MIDI. You want to change it to storage. Okay, just made the noise on the computer, as you can see, and then we go with the cursor twice. It says USB storage mode, enter. So here, let me turn this down a little, and we'll hit enter, and it says internal. Now we want the card, so now it says now connecting, and over here on the desktop we are in this PC, and there is nothing there. Okay, and man, what a bummer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is unplug the USB device, plug it back in. Nothing. Okay, I'm going to have to shut my whole computer down. So, and this guy here, there's no way to exit out of this. It says now connecting. I don't know if you can see that or not, but yeah, it says now connecting, and there's no way to exit this mode. So I have to flip the switch, and I will restart this as well, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, first thing we want to do at this point, so we want to go into System, and we're going to try to enter USB storage again, storage mode, enter, card, connected. Here on the screen you can see audio import. Place the file in the destination. This is a test break that I made earlier. Right, so now it's on the card. I'm going to right click here. I'm going to eject. I'm not going to unplug the USB cable this time. Over here you see that it reverts to the storage, to the USB storage mode, and it's asking me card or internal, and do I want to connect? Nope. I'm going to go exit. I'm going to go to patch and sample. All right. And here, yeah, let's see. Let's go to pattern. Let's go back to the pattern we were working on. Yep. We have data. We have the bass line on track number 1. We have the drums at 11. Let's just go to 12. And we'll go to patch sample. And we will go to shift. And pad 13, which is import. It's saying, where do you want to import? We're going to go find our test break, which is at the end of the card. Okay, you have user and card, but we're in card, test break, enter. Are you sure? Yes. Now it's processing. Okay. Now, as you can see, in this, we're still, the patch for channel number 12 is still set to Clubhouse kit, which is what we were using before, right? What we got to do now is we got to find our sample, okay? Now, this part had me pulling my hair out trying to find the sample, but I realize now that because we're in rhythm and not patch, see, if we go to one of the keyboard parts, it says patch. We're in 12, it's rhythm, okay? So you got to use the cursor here in the patch menu to go to rhythm, and you want to change it to patch. Once it's changed to patch, we can hold shift and card, and it'll take us, hold on. See, I had to do it twice. Another thing that had me tearing my hair out. But it takes me to CSAM 0001. Okay, I don't know what that's all about, but I'm going to go forward. Whoops, oh crap. I didn't leave patch menu, so let's do that again. I'm going to use this cursor to go back to the numbers. See, this is all just tedious, just really, really redundant menu diving. We're going to go through here until we find our sample, which is called test break. Oh, there it is. And as you can see, it has an asterisk by it. It means it hasn't been saved yet. So from here, I'm going to hold shift and write. It says, do I want to write it? Yes. This is the name I want to use. Yes. I'm going to write it here at C0039. Okay, are you sure? Yes. Okay. Okay, now that it's in there, let's see what we can do with it. Okay, let's hear what it sounds like. Okay, sounds pretty good. Now, when you use the editor, there are far more options for editing, which I showed you earlier, but right now we're going to chop this thing up in the internal engine using the front panel. So from here, we're in patch and sample, in the card, test break, this is our spot. We're going to hold shift and go to pad number 4, which is sample parameter. Okay, now right here it says here's our loops. It says loop mode, one shot. And you can change that to forward looping or reverse once. All right. Keep it at one shot. We're going to use the cursor. Go to the next one. BPMs 150. That's true. That it detected the BPM. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay, which means you can go to the next screen. BPM calculating. Enter. Right, but I don't want to do that. Scroll again. Chop. Okay, from here we'll go enter. Now we have multiple different types of chopping. Okay, you can chop it according to a number of divisions. And if I use the scroll, I can see it goes up to 16. It can actually chop up to 32 divisions if you use the software. Okay, and you can set the software to be the default, to make 32 the default using the software. But once again, if I use the software to chop the sample up, I won't know how to save it. It's really weird. You'll see how this works though. Divide X, you have according to a beat, and if you use the cursor, you can do it according to 16th notes, or 32nd notes, or eighths or triplets. Right? I'm going to leave it at 16. That's the one I'm going to use. I'll use the cursor to go back. There's also according to the level. All right, and the level is when it detects where the drums are and it chops them up. For shorter samples than this is the one to use, but this sample actually is too long for this engine, like I mentioned before, so I'm going to chop it into 16th notes, all right? But here's level. You can set the level of the level, the threshold level, if you want, and that's pretty cool. Right now we're going to use the beat, 16th notes, enter. And that's auto chopping, okay? Now let's listen. All right, do you hear all that? It added all that crap to the end. It only chopped up these ones. And you know what? That wasn't a very good chop. I think I'll go to eighth notes. I'm going to exit and try it again. Still. Okay, let's exit that as well. And let's see what happens when we use divide X into 16 pieces. It actually works pretty good. I don't want to use that one though. Let's use the level and see how that works. It still adds half the sample to the last pad. It's crazy. Okay, let's just enter that. Are you sure? Yes. And now it's executing. Okay, and it writes 16 times. All right, slow and cumbersome. Weird way of doing things. But you know, whatever. It is how it is. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I can only imagine it would be twice as long if it was set to 32. I know for a fact it would be. Okay. Do you want to create a rhythm set right here in channel 12? Yes. So enter. And is this what you want to call it? Test break? Yeah, sure. Why not? Where do we want to put it? I'm going to find a spot. Initialized. There we go. This is on the card. It's A, bank A, 13 on the card. Enter. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. Now, do I want to assign this to the current part? Yeah, sure. Okay. There it is. Now, what I want to do is, I think I'm going to use the panel here and go to Synthesizer 2 and give everything a release. You'll see what I mean. And because I've augmented that, I need to save it again. All right. So now we have some breaks. Let's listen to our pattern. Okay. Let's put some real-time recording. Mix, one measure, quantize, 16ths. Sounded terrible, so we'll go to undo. Yes. Okay, yeah, fine, whatever. And we'll save this pattern. Okay, I think now we're going to... Whoa, kids! Yeah, sorry about the noise in the background. Right now we're going to... hold on, let me shut this door. Love my fam. Okay, right now we're going to use, we're going to sample directly from the audio in from the Electribe sampler. Let's listen to the sequence that we got going on right now. Alright, sounds, well, pretty crappy, but at least I'm showing you how to use the machine. Yeah, none of these patterns should be reflective of my work. Okay, here's the pattern I have in the Electribe sampler. Okay, I have the audio out going into the audio in, and if you can see right here, I have the mix in button. So as soon as that is engaged, all audio passes seamlessly into the MC808. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is we're in pattern. I'm going to show you what I was talking about before about how you have to be in patch or sample mode in order to actually create an editable sample. Okay, I'm going to show you that error that we're getting. So we're in pattern. Let's go to let's go to 13. Okay, and from here we're going to hit sampling. Now once we get in there, we can adjust the input. Actually, you have to enter sampling mode. So in the sampling menu, it starts with sampling. That's one. Then we have resampling, which is obvious. You resample what's coming out of the outputs of the Groovebox. Next is mix. I think that it samples the output of the Groovebox plus what's coming in. Auto divide actually chops it up as it's coming in. I don't know how that works, and I've never used it, and I really should dive into that. Solo, I don't even know what that means. Solo with effects, yep. I'm not even going to touch on most of these because I've never used them. Okay. Right now we're going to enter sampling. Now this is our volume meter. Okay. So I'm going to go over here to input and I'm going to crank it up. And you can See, oh, when it starts coming up here, it's clipping, okay? So turn it down. That's good. Now, here's the thing about sampling. We already know that if a sample is too long for a if a sample is too long, even if it's properly trimmed, then it's not going to chop correctly, right? So we're just going to sample about half of these 4 bars. So I'm going to sample 2 bars, and this is at 120 BPMs, whereas what we're working in right now is 138 BPMs. It's also slightly off than the E minor that we're using in here, and I did that on purpose because we're going to try to get them to match up and just see how viable that is. Okay, so after we sample this, we're going to go into the software, and we're going to go into the software and we're going to edit the sample. Now, what I was talking about before, let's go back to pattern. Okay, actually, exit pattern. Well, it looks like it automatically went to patch sample. I don't know what that's about. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, though. Go sampling. We're going to go forward. Okay, using the cursor, you can get some different options. Line in left and right. That's the input. Yep. Let me see what other inputs we have. Line in left, microphone. I see. Line in left and right. Okay. Next, stereo or mono. Yep. We're going to have a stereo sample. Next, pre-sample. That's kind of preemptively samples a little before you actually hit the sampling gauge. I don't know how that works. I've never used it. Stop trigger, manual. Yes, I'm not going to have it stop automatically. I'm going to manually hit that button to stop it, okay, which is up here. Can you see that thing flashing? I think you can barely see it in your screen, okay. Now, next, sampling length. It's going to be arbitrary because I'm going to stop it manually. Auto trigger switch. I'm going to turn that on. Okay, I really like it. And the next one, that means that as soon as audio starts coming through, it's going to sample automatically once it hits the threshold, which the auto trigger level threshold is 3. I'm going to turn it down to 2. I like that. Next, gap time. I think that's a gap between chops when you do auto chop, but I'm not sure about that either. Trimming switch off. What that means is that if there's silence at the end of the sample, it's not going to automatically trim it. That might be useful for some people, but what I do is I sample, auto sample, so when it starts, it hits the downbeat, right? And as it goes, I wait until it gets just a tiny little bit of the following bar or the measure that I don't need. That way I can hear that kick drum and shave it off when I'm quantizing, when I'm truncating the sample and trimming it up. Next, so off. All right, so in this case, we're going to hit sampling again, and it's waiting for the signal. Okay, now let's hit play. Okay. Assign to current part. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. Now, let's listen. Okay, hear that little bit of kick drum? Alright. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to save this sucker by hitting shift and right. And we'll call this Electribe, or actually we won't. We'll call it, because I hate putting these in here with one hand. We'll call it Elec 1 2 3. Okay, enter, and it's going to be card 1 2 3. Sample right. We'll put yeah, yep, and it's writing. And there it is. Okay, let's get into the software and see what kind of options we have there. Okay, so here we are in the editor. I'm going to go to this sample menu here. And let's see, we'll go to the card. That's where we're at. Nothing in user slot. We're in the card. Notice that this changes to PC mode when this sample editor is open. You can't use anything on the front panel here, okay? Right here is our sample, Let Tribe 123. Okay. Now, the thing about the sample editor is that's how you zoom in right there. Okay, you grab this yellow portion here, and it'll zoom into a portion that you want to look at. Okay. Now, we can automatically take the end point and trim it properly. And if we go to truncate here, we hit overwrite. You can adjust this endpoint however you want. You can adjust it, you can truncate it to here. Hold on. I think, actually, outside of this, I think you have to use the endpoint buttons here. And you can do all kinds of things to truncate this sample the way that you want it. Okay? And looks like, let's zoom in here and see where we're at. Let's listen to this. You have to use this preview button to listen. Listen. Okay, that last little piece is gone. Truncate, overwrite, and execute. Okay? So now that is truncated. When we go back to the, when we exit out of here and we go back to the front panel of the Groovebox, we're going to have to save that in its current state. Now down here, along with truncate, we have emphasis. I don't know what that is. You have normalize, which will reach it to, bring it to its highest level without clipping. We have the amp. Let's see what amp settings do. Yeah, I'm not really sure what that does. It doesn't look like amp envelopes. Yeah, not really sure. Maybe I don't know. I'm not even going to try to figure it out. Time stretch. These time stretch, you have multiple time stretch algorithms, and I don't know exactly what they are. You have these types, see? Type 10, type 9. And then you have a quality adjustment. You can adjust quality. You know what? Let's maximize the quality here. Let's put this at type 5. I don't know what that is. I would like to know, but there's no manual. Again, let's go to quality 10. Let's execute that too. All right. Let's see. Over here we have time stretch. Oh, here's the chop menu. Okay. In the chop menu, and you have the same thing here. In the chop menu, you can auto chop and everything like you can in the other, on the front panel. You have your levels here. You have your resolution for beat chop right here. You have your auto divide up to 16 increments. I thought it was 32 with the editor. I was wrong. And you can execute this, right? Bam. And it'll auto chop. And the best thing about this is you can zoom in and you can adjust these chop points. So I want to move this one here, right? And that would be optimal for chopping, but once you execute it, you can't save it as a rhythm patch using the editor like you can on the front panel, or at least I haven't figured out a way. Maybe somebody could show me. Right now we've got this, let's listen to this preview again. Yeah, sounds good, and it's exactly as we got it. Let's exit this. Go back to the front panel. Let's go to patch. Let's go to card, and let's find. Oh, excuse me, shift card. All right, to find where we were at just now. Test break. It looks like I haven't saved that. I don't know what that's about. I can tell because it has a little asterisk. Another instance of test break. I'm not going to mess with those. We saved them last time. What is that? Oh, there it is. Listen. Dang, that sounds fast. Oh, I have it on auto sync. Ah, I see. Okay, that's the original there. Let's hit shift and right. We'll enter. We'll write it right where it's at. Yep, got it. And then let's chop this piece up over here. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's do two things. Number one, that's a patch. And we know that that's at CSAM 0123, okay? And let's put this into auto sync. A second ago I had it on auto sync. See what's going on is if we go to shift sample parameter, we'll leave it at 1 shot, that's fine. The BPM is at 120, okay? The BPM that we're working is in 138. So as we play this on the original sample, if I push auto sync, interesting. There we go. I had to exit there. Auto sync. That time is not that great. Okay, let's listen to the sequence that we got going. That's an E minor. And this here, I'm going to say that is 2 semitones sharp. Let's go down a little, down 1 octave. Yeah, I think that's what it's supposed to be. Let's listen. Yeah, whew, sounds pretty bad. Let's solo this. Where are we at? What part are we in? We're in part 9. Okay, let's solo part 9, which is shift tempo and 9. Okay. Nothing else is going to play. Everything else. Okay. Let's go into record mode, real-time recording. Use the cursor. Length 4, 1 measure count in. Quarter note resolution. Actually, I did that earlier so I could get a solid recording. That's a good idea for this too, because we're just going to be hitting it 1 time per, maybe twice during the whole sequence. That's pretty rough. Huh. Just trying to took the auto sync off for a moment just to hear what it sounds like, and obviously it messes the timing up. Let's pull in the drums. Let's pull in that bass line. It fits. Is that viable? No, I don't really think it is. Let's try to chop it. Let's go to track 13, which is where we were at before when we actually sampled it. So it's already in there. Let's listen. Can't hear it. Why? Well, let's just find it. A little confusing. Oh, because it's a rhythm patch. Ha 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 ha. Okay, let's go to patch. Shift card. Okay, let's find this piece. What? Oh, I'm going back and forth between rhythm again. This is ridiculous. Where was it? 23? No, where did we save it to? Unload. I don't even know what that means. Okay, where are you at, son? I saw you a second ago. There it is. Okay, let's chop this piece. Shift, sample parameter, 1 shot, BPM, count, chop. Divide into 16 pieces. Is that a good one? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, all right, we can do that. I Are you sure? Yes. This is obviously cumbersome and redundant. Yep. It is very slow. You know what I'm concerned about now? It's going to ask if I want to create a rhythm set. So we're going to do that because that's why I came. Let's put it... Like 123, that's what was that? Yep, let's do it there. Okay, here's the thing. Let's go back to the synth here, add some. Okay, and let's write this again. Here's the thing, I don't know how to adjust the pitch of these. So now I don't know if this is going to fit our sequence. Anyway, you can see there's some major problems here. I think what we need to do soon is make a template where I can be able to just drop things in and have them work perfectly in the unit. I'm pretty sure that's possible. I'm not really sure how, but it's going to be amazing once I figure it out. Well, there you have it. That was my not super high quality video on the Roland Mc-808. I'm going to have more. I'm going to show you how to use the Arpeggiator, and I'm going to set up that template that I talked about at the end. I'm also going to show you how to transfer your stuff from your DAW. I'm going to use Ableton, of course. Maybe I'll use something different this time just to show you guys, but how to transfer your tracks over from your DAW into the Mc-808. And I'm going to show you some tricks and hacks on making synth waves and single cycle waveforms out of existing samples, or making brand new ones with your software and dumping them into the Mc-808. Okay, go StrittonClips.com. Go check it out. Hope everyone has an amazing Thanksgiving tomorrow. Yeah, looks like finishing this thing up right at Thanksgiving. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Yeah, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all of it.